guys, welcome to My Sew Bliss. Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable monster outfit. I'm actually making this for my son's first birthday. He's going to be a little monster and we're having a monster birthday party, so I'm super excited about it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do the spikes on the side and how to make all the eyeballs. And it's super quick and super easy. I'm partnering with Silhouette to show you how to use their Cameo 3. It made this project super quick and easy, and I didn't have to cut out all those circles. So first, for the supplies, you're going to need your Cameo, and if you have any of their other cutting tools, those will work as well. I'm just using the Cameo 3. And then along with your cutting machine, you're also going to need the mat to cut the vinyl on, and then some vinyl. I'm using heat transfer vinyl. I'll put a link down below from where I got it, and it works great on clothing, and I've really liked how it's worked with this project. Then for the side spikes, I just used some felt, and I used those 8x10 sheets that you can buy, and I just laid them on top of each other to make it extra long. So if you can get a long sheet, that would be perfect, but I did just use the 8x10s and lay them on top of each other. So I use that, and then some interfacing that is like a fleece. It's extra thick. And then you're just going to need all of your basic sewing supplies. So let's get started. Now, to make my monster outfit, the first thing I did was start making a romper. Now, this is the romperall. I'll put a link to the pattern down below so you guys can check it out. If you want me to do a video on how to make the romper, let me know and I can do that as well. But for now, I just want to show you how I did the spikes on the side. They're super easy and they just add the cutest touch to this outfit. And all I had to do was sew them into the side seam. So when I laid my two pattern pieces, the front and the back of the romperall, right sides together, I placed this inside of it as well so that the points were going in. So imagine if it was right sides together and these were going in, and then I just sewed my seam. So super easy. So let me show you how I cut out and what I did to make these spikes. I just used some felt that I got in a Halloween package actually that I planned on using for my son's birthday party, and just got the black, and it wasn't long enough, so I measured the side of the romper, the side seams, and I wanted it the whole length of it, so the felt wasn't long enough, so I just laid them on top of each other and did a zigzag stitch along here. You could do an actual seam, but I just liked that it laid nicely that way. So first I did that, and then just using my marking tool, I went down and drew how I wanted the zigzags or the spikes to look. Now I wanted them to be bigger, and you do have to account for a little bit of a seam allowance. And then when you are going from one spike to another, you do want to do a straight line. And I did mine about 1/2 inch long. I didn't measure it at all. I just eyeballed this whole thing. So I just did my spikes, and you could do whatever size you want and then do 1/2 inch and then go up again and down and 1/2 inch up, down, 1/2 inch, however long you want it. So, and one thing I suggest is at the end of your spikes, the top and the bottom, make sure that you leave about 1/2 inch as well. And I did that, and on one of my felt, I actually ironed on some fusible felt. This is like really thick stuff because I wanted the spikes to stick up really well. So this is going to make them extra stiff. So on one piece of felt, I did iron it on, and then I have another piece of felt that I cut out as well so that I could sew them together. So once I had this cut out, I then laid it on top of another piece of felt that I sewed together and cut that out as well. Then I laid them right sides together, so it would be just like this if I were to make another one without the fold. Imagine there's no fold there, and I'm putting them right sides together, and then I went around and stitched. I did about 1/4 inch, maybe even less than that, and I stitched around, and then make sure you stitch across and then up and down, across, up and down, across, up and down. And I did that all the way down. And then once those are stitched together, before you turn it right sides out,
you can already see that I did this. You are going to trim the point off. So my stitching would be right here, and I trimmed the point. And I did trim my side seams, but that really isn't necessary. So I just drew on this with my marking tool to show you guys. If this white line was my stitching, I trimmed the point off, and then you want to also come down here, and this would have been my straight stitch right here, and I'm going to trim to the corners. I'm not going to trim through the corners, but just to that stitching. So that way when I turn it right side out, it's going to spread nicely. So just make sure after you've done your stitching, trim the tops of the triangles and then trim to the corners so that it will spread nicely and you should be good. So then I turned it right sides out. And if you can, iron it down a little bit. That's always nice to get a little pressing done on it. Some fabrics like this felt, you probably shouldn't iron very much. So I didn't, but make sure you push your points out really nice so that they make a nice point. And then you just put it in your side seams before you sew, lay it together. Just like I said, when your bodice front and your bodice back are right sides together, lay this in between, make sure the seams are in there, and you just stitch right along your side seam, just like normal, and you have your spikes.
After you are done putting the romper together and putting in those side spikes, now I'm going to show you how I did the eyeballs.
Now when you open up Silhouette Studio, you're going to come to your mat right here. There's your arrow pointing up, and then this will be blank. I've already done all my circles. So to do my circles, I just came over here to the shapes and selected the oval one. And then I just clicked and drew a bunch of circles, and I just eyeballed it to see how big I wanted it. I like how it tells you in inches how big it is. So then I made all different sizes so that for mine, the monster has all different size eyeballs. I also made sure to put my circles close together so that I'm not wasting any vinyl. Now I have mine all ready to go. I'm going to come over to send, and it's going to show me exactly what it's going to cut. So these red lines is where it will cut. So then I'm going to make sure over here the material for mine is going to be vinyl. It's nice because they have fabric option, they have washi sheets, wood paper, stamps, magnet paper, all different kinds of things. They just have a ton of different options. So I have mine on vinyl glossy, and the action is on cut. And then it is on auto blade right here. It says auto blade. So that's what I'm going to be using. And then it does show me all these different settings that I have. If you would like to, you can play around with it, or you can just use the settings that they give you for that material. So maybe test it out a few times. So if you hit the test button, it will draw a square with a triangle in the middle of it to make sure the cut and the speed and everything is coming out right. So maybe try that before you start. So I just did some test runs, so I actually moved this circle down over here because I have that square and the triangle right there. So my settings, I changed up a little bit. I have it on a 2 for the blade, the speed is 7, and the force is at 5. This is just what the vinyl place that I got my vinyl from recommended, so I'm liking their settings. It worked really well. So I'm going to go ahead and get my vinyl ready and prepped. Now, when you're cutting with heat transfer vinyl, you actually want to put the right side down, and if we were doing a different type of cutout, I would actually need to have flipped it so that it cuts it backwards because you'll see in a minute how this is our carrier sheet that will actually show the cutout on this side. So with the settings, we don't want it to cut our carrier sheet, so we have the vinyl on the top and the carrier sheet on the mat. So here's my shiny side that you can tell there's the carrier sheet on it. I've laid that down on my mat. You can see it cut out fine because the carrier sheet is still attached right there. So that's all good. My triangle is still there. So now I'm ready to load it into my machine. So I'm going to line it up, and then I can hit load, and it's ready to go. Now I can go over to my computer and hit send, and it's going to do its thing. the top of it, it will say job complete. So you just hit unload. And then you can go over to your vinyl, and you can barely tell on this, especially because it's white, that it was cut. Only like in really good lighting can you see the cut. And that's awesome because you only wanted it to cut the vinyl. Once your vinyl is all cut out, you are then going to do what is called weeding. And that is taking the vinyl off of the carrier sheet. And that is the vinyl that you're not going to be using. So weeding out all the pieces that you don't need. So here I have one circle and then another circle. So I'm just making sure the circles don't come up, but that all the vinyl around it does. So I just cut off that extra vinyl and the parts that we weeded out. Now for mine, I actually don't want the eyeballs spaced the way they are right now. So I'm actually going to cut them out individually so then I can iron them on wherever I want on the romper. Here I have laid the romper out on my ironing board so that it's ready to go, and I placed all my circles where I want them. I spread them out and make sure that the vinyl, this is my vinyl right here, is facing down, touching the romper. The sticky part of the cover sheet is touching the romper, so I can press those down. Obviously, since I cut mine, there's not a ton of the cover sheet touching the romper, but that's okay. We just want the cover sheet covering the vinyl, because if not, the vinyl will melt over the heat. So now I'm ready. Since I like the placement and it's ready to go, I'm going to take my iron, and mine is on a medium heat. Make sure you know you've done some testing of the heat settings. And I'm going to take it, and I'm going to actually hold this down for about 5 seconds, because then I'm going to go and do the black pieces later, and then I'll do the real setting of about 13 to 15 seconds. So for now, I'm just going to do about 5 seconds on each circle. And I'm really pressing when I put my iron on there to make sure it's really adhering to the romper. Now, once I have all that ironed down, mine is hot or cold that I can take these off, so I'm just going to start taking these off. Now I want to be very careful with them because I still need to press them the rest of the way, so some of it might peel a little bit, but as long as it's sticking to some extent, then I'm just going to leave it. So now that I have all the white figured out, I started drawing circles in a different color. So I came up here to this box. It was red before. So before it was red, and then I just clicked on it, so like that, and then I hit black, so that I created a new color way so that I just could draw these circles in the eyes just to figure out what shapes I wanted, because I'm not very picky. I just wanted to see what they would look like. So once you have your circles all drawn and you figured out what you want them to be in and that they're the right size, then I'm going to come up here to this cool little tool that says select by color, and I'm going to click on that. It shows me the 2 colors that I have, and I'm going to have it click on all of my red ones. So it's selected all the red ones for me, and then I'm going to click on my screen and drag the red ones off of my cutting mat. So that way it's not going to cut the red ones, but it will cut the black circles for me. So now I'm just going to organize these so that it will cut and not waste as much, but I am going to leave space for them so that way my carrier sheet is pretty big and I'll be able to cover the white as well as the black, so we won't melt any of our vinyl. So I'm going to lay this all out, and then we'll go and send it to the machine. So I got mine organized on my mat, and I decided that I'm just going to save space and save vinyl and put them close together, and then I'll use the carrier sheets from this and then the carrier sheets from the white, and I'll layer them so that way it won't melt the vinyl. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. So now I'm ready to go up here to send, And the settings are going to be exactly the same as they were before. Everything's the same. I'm just using black vinyl instead of white. So on this one, I'm not even going to test it. I'm just going to hit send and it'll go to my machine. Now, like I said with the white vinyl, make sure that the carrier sheet is facing down. You can tell because it's more of a matte right now with the vinyl on the top. And then here you can see the shine of the carrier sheet on the bottom. So I've just stuck that on there. I'm just using about 3 inches, so I just cut a 3-inch piece to put on my mat, so that way I'm not wasting vinyl. And I have my mat loaded in, so if I hit send on my computer, and it's gonna do its thing. Now, once the Cameo is done cutting, it will say job complete at the top. You just hit a mode and take it off, and again you can kind of see it, but not unless you're in really good lighting. So now I can take this off, and I'll just take it off off of my mat, and then I'm gonna weed the pieces out or take off the extra vinyl, which kind of takes a little finessing. There are specific tools that you can use, so just play around with it and see what works best for you. Now that I've weeded out all the excess vinyl, I'm then going to cut around the circles just like I did with the whites. So now I'm back over at my ironing board. I have the romper laid down, and I've put all the black pieces on top of the white pieces exactly where I want them to sit. One other thing I did, because I don't have a sheet to go over the whole project, I just have the carrier sheet that comes with the vinyl. So I'm a newbie to this, so I don't have one yet. So if you have that, use that and put it over all the pieces so that you can iron them all together and the vinyl won't be touched by the iron. Now, if you don't have one of those sheets that I'm talking about, you can just use the carrier pieces that you peeled off of the white. So what I mean by all this is, here I have a carrier piece that I put on there, but it's not the black piece's carrier piece. So I put the black part on there, made sure it's exactly where I want it, and then I put this carrier piece over it. So that way when I go to iron, my iron won't be touching any vinyl, because if your iron touches the vinyl, it will melt it. So that's why I'm making sure there's a carrier sheet over each piece of vinyl. Then once I'm ready and I've made sure all my vinyl is covered, I am then ready to iron it down. And again, make sure you're pressing and holding the iron down for about 13 to 15 seconds. Now this is going to depend on the vinyl you're using, but I am using the heat transfer vinyl. So 10 to 15 seconds, I will press that down and make sure it is on there nicely.
Now after you're done ironing on all of your vinyl, you are all done with your monster outfit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe, and make sure to go check out Silhouette. I have loved this cutting machine and trying it out with all my projects. It's so much fun. They have a bunch of other machines and tools that you can use, so I'll put lots of links down below. Also make sure to go check out my Instagram, MySewBliss, where I will be showing lots of pictures of my little boy in his outfit for his first birthday. So I will see you guys next time. Bye!